Paradise Towers is where the Seventh Doctor era really begins. It's the first story where Andrew Cartmel makes an impact as the new script editor, bringing in a new writer and allowing Sylvester McCoy to begin shaping his version of the Doctor. It's not quite there yet, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. The setting is a massive tower block. It's never specified exactly where it is, or even if it's on Earth. All of the men have gone off to fight in a war, leaving only old women and young girls, plus some able-bodied men for some reason. The Doctor and Mel go there for a holiday, even though it's just a block of flats, but they find it's all covered in rubbish and graffiti, and its residents keep dying. So just like any block of flats in present-day Britain then. Most of the story revolves around all the separate groups of characters who inhabit the towers. There's the Kangs, gangs of girls who dress in bright colours. Red Kangs are best, obviously. And they say things like, ice hot and build high for happiness, which is at least an attempt at creating a realistic future slang. Most of it sounds a bit silly, but they do use the word unalive to mean killed, which is exactly what young people nowadays say on their TikToks. So the writer managed to predict that bit of future slang accurately at least. All of the Kangs act like 12-year-old girls, but are portrayed by 20-something women. I'm not sure if that's intentional, to show they've been stuck there all their lives and are in a state of arrested development, or if it's just the usual TV policy of casting much older people to play teenagers. The standout among the Kangs is Annabelle Eurisha as Bin Liner. She has a definite screen presence, but sadly doesn't seem to have gone on to do anything much afterwards. Also there are the Rezzies, a group of old women who lure Mel into their flat in order to cook and eat her. Played with glee by Elizabeth Spriggs and Brenda Bruce, they are hilarious, and quite possibly a couple as well. They seem to have plenty of cakes and crumpets, so why they need to eat people is unclear. In fact, it's not entirely clear what everybody else in the tower eats. There are vending machines, but the Doctor has to teach the Kangs how to use them. It's not a massively fleshed out world. Maybe the novelisation goes into greater detail. Pex rescues Mel from the Rezzies. He has the biggest character arc, starting out as a conscientious objector, but trying to prove his bravery on every possible occasion, but failing miserably until his heroic sacrifice at the end. Howard Cook is not terribly convincing as a big action hero. There is a definite dissonance between the way he looks and the way he acts, but I guess that kind of adds to it. But he does do a decent job with the character, and his ending is rather moving. The Doctor, meanwhile, is captured by the caretakers, who are meant to enforce order, but are obsessed with petty rules and regulations, all laid out in their little pamphlet, which really should be thousands of pages long. Richard Bryce, as the chief caretaker, is the big guest star, and he plays the officious bureaucrat with a Hitler moustache very well, until his unfortunate transformation, that is. The villains are where the show falls down. The cleaning machines are the main threat for most of it, killing off numerous characters, but they're not scary at all, slow and cumbersome, and easy to escape from. The other main villain is Caragnon, the Great Architect, who for most of the show is represented as two glowing lights, until he takes over Richard Bryce's body for the final part. It's never explained exactly what he was in the first place, human or alien or disembodied presence. He keeps saying he's hungry, so presumably he eats the bodies that the cleaners bring him, but we never see his mouth, or indeed the rest of his body. And when he possesses the chief caretaker, Richard Bryce goes completely over the top, grunting and groaning his way through in a terrible zombie-like performance. He's usually a really good actor, but his choices here really bring down the whole show. It is a strong story for Sylvester McCoy's Doctor, though. We start to see some of his familiar mannerisms, like doffing his hat to everyone he meets, and rolling his R's on every occasion. He feels a bit like Patrick Troughton's Doctor, as a little man who subtly manipulates people, rather than striding in and taking charge as the 4th and 6th Doctors kept on doing. The scene where he escapes from the caretakers is a good example of him using his cunning and intelligence. It does help that they appear to be complete morons, though, and he manages to befriend the Kangs and organise all the residents to work together, which feels like a very Doctorish thing to do. Mel is also a lot better in this story, basically playing Alice in Wonderland, the ordinary girl trapped in this strange world, meeting all these bizarre characters. She spends the entire show desperately trying to reach the swimming pool, which is hilarious considering all the life and death going on around her. And when she finally gets there, she is menaced by another unconvincing robot. It's not even a particularly big pool. They could have gone to Centre Parks or any Olympic Stadium if that's what they wanted. This is the part where I usually talk about the DVD special features. but the DVD seemed to have a feature called Girls, Girls, Girls of the 80s, which did not make it over to the Blu-ray, so I can't really talk about that. But both versions do have the 35-minute making-of documentary, Horror on the High Rise. It's presented by Mark Ayres, who composed the music for various Doctor Who stories, but sadly not this one. The writer Stephen Wyatt and script editor Andrew Cartmel talk about how it was inspired by G.G. Ballard's High Rise and Terry Gilliam's Brazil. I would also have said there's a bit of Judge Dredd 2000 AD in there as well. Richard Breyer's defends his over-the-top performance, not very convincingly. And there's also contributions from Catherine Cusack and Howard Cook. Sadly, no Sylvester, McCoy or Bonnie Langford. You have to watch the Behind the Sofa on the Blu-ray to find out what they thought of the story. There's also 8 minutes of deleted and extended scenes, including the Doctor escaping 2 cleaners, and another one where he persuades Bin Liner to go up to the pool, which is another great scene for the actress. Overall, it's probably the best script I've had in years, but it's let down a bit by the production and some of the performances. I'll give it a 7. Next week, Delta and the Bannermen. Ken Dodd and a holiday camp. I think the season might have peaked already, but I could be wrong. So press subscribe if you want to see what I make of that, and I'll see you next time.